Hi, my name is Kristen Nimbler. This is for my Gen Chem 1 class for Professor Ken Capps. Today we're going to be attempting to do the pasta rocket as an example of how a rocket would work. For this experiment, we'll be using hydrogen peroxide, dry yeast, and a lighter, and some ZD, which from what I watched, all sources said to identify a flat end of the ZD so it will rest better. So ideally, when we mix the hydrogen peroxide and the yeast, hydrogen peroxide has kind of a similar makeup of water. The difference being hydrogen peroxide has that extra oxygen atom. And our yeast is going to act as our catalyst to break up the hydrogen peroxide and specifically release that oxygen. And this, in theory, will be an example of how a rocket works with a solid fuel source. Our solid fuel source in this case will be our hydrocarbons coming from our pasta, and our oxidizer, typically liquid or gas, will be our oxygen coming off of our hydrogen peroxide as a result of the reaction of the yeast in the hydrogen peroxide. So, the reason why I say in theory is I'm not entirely sure that my experiment is going to work as anticipated because I couldn't get a good seal out of my mason jar lids, and I also couldn't get a good cut like other people recommended, so I'm not really sure that I'm going to be able to prevent leaks, and therefore I don't know that my burn will necessarily catch on my pasta, so we'll see. So for starters, we've got our jar and our hydrogen peroxide, which I'm going to pause while I take this cap off. Most videos said to do about 2/3 of the way full, although from what I saw, it seemed like the closer it was to the lid, the better the catch was for the flame. So this feels like a bit of a waste of hydrogen peroxide, not gonna lie. But here we go. We've got our yeast. Most experiments said to use about 1/4 teaspoon. I'm going to use roughly a spoonful here simply because my jar is bigger than what we've witnessed so far. So don't want to do too much because we don't need a major reaction here. So I'll mix this up. Oof. And my seal is already not working. Okay. I actually think that actually may have worked. I just reacted too slow, and I may have set myself up for failure for using too much hydrogen peroxide and possibly too much yeast to activate, because I'm actually kind of spilling out of my lid here. So kind of what I predicted would happen happened. I didn't create a good enough seal, and my oxidizer escaped, although it's still releasing, so we'll give it one more go. does not look like it's catching. Okay, well, that backfired on me. But, so yeah, we have our yeast, which is our catalyst to our hydrogen peroxide, releases the oxygen gas. Our fuel source, hydrocarbon of the pasta, which would have been further amplified by the oxygen coming off of our hydrogen peroxide, would have funneled through our little hole directly through our fuel source. And one benefit to rocket sources like that use solid fuel sources is there's less of a explosion hazard with a solid fuel source as opposed to a liquid one. I kind of wish that had worked out better, and I wish that I had bought more hydrogen peroxide to try again. But yeah, you win some, you lose some. Better luck next time, I guess. Thank you for your time.